Okay, let's try that one again. How was my hair? Alright, I'm sorry. At long last, this is the Almost Perfect Playlist podcast coming to you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the first edition of the Almost Perfect Playlist podcast. It's been a long time coming. It's just something I needed to get started. This is the re-recorded version because I used whack earbuds for the first video. I should have tested my gear with approximately a 2-second clip, but hindsight's 2020, whatever that even means. Um, Also, this isn't touching a computer right now because complications with Windows 11 is documented elsewhere. To expand on that, I feel that my planned obsolescence time had come, and I always feared that last upgrade, if you will. They called it to Windows 11, and I just put it off until the last possible minute, and then a little while later, it crashed and burned, baby. So I want to talk about playlists. I want to talk about the Almost Perfect Playlist and what that means to me. Is I construct my playlist based on several things. It consists of songs that enter my head from way back when. It could be like an alternative song from the 1990s, maybe Alanis Morissette or the band Live, for example, even Pearl Jam. Those songs that are completely reframed and appreciated, yet it still evokes a certain feeling of, if even just a sarcastic or surface level, but it's always deeper than that. Okay. Wow. Songs with interesting titles often commence a playlist creation. So it's a series of songs strung together in a sequence that contains some sort of meaning and evolves around a certain theme. Oh, that should be revolves around a certain theme in certain cases. So it might be similar songs or completely different songs. They might completely contradict each other. However, the flow is of utmost importance. Let me scroll down here. I'm not editing this stuff out. I'm not editing out the breathing. You're going to see the warts, and you know what? I just think we all need to breathe more. The sequence of songs becomes one that I refer to back over time. It's almost like the closest version I come to using tarot cards or something like that. There's a thought that there's messages within these songs or sequence of songs that will hold pertinence to current and upcoming events and provide perspective in the future, and it's kind of like a chapter marker for that specific era or area of my life. Now, just one important criteria to mention here, I will mix light songs with heavy songs almost as if it's like a Tarantino movie playing out in my head or something like that. Um, from just the utmost, prettiest, most beautiful music to just some of the heaviest stuff that I actually listen to. Now, I realize that's a deal breaker for some people, like having a very heavy song come after a really light song or vice versa. They can't do that shift in dynamics, and I have to respect that. I have to appreciate that. And, if you like any of these playlists enough, you just copy them into a new playlist and delete the songs you don't like or rearrange it. I don't care. And I don't know if you will ever see the meaning in my playlist, but I hope that you find your perfect playlist and share it with me down below. Anyways, like I said, though, it's more like scenes of a movie being stuck together or something like that. I'll be visualizing different things. I learned about producers and writers/directors who would write music like Tarantino and the director of Birdman, who I cannot correctly pronounce his last name. So I will refrain from butchering it, but much respect. And like I am alluding to, playlists, well, I don't mean to be condescending to you, so scratch that last part. Playlists will contain drastic and dramatic shifts in mood and tone and heaviness, like I was saying, and that's an essential part of their construction. It's almost like you build something really beautiful and then destroy it with a heavy song, is maybe one way I like to look at it. Kind of like the Nightmare Ballad was a song I always kind of wanted to write in my old band, like a really pretty part and then, heavy parts. I think that's probably been done 50 million times by now in 2026. So along the way, when we're assembling these sequences, we're looking for one that rivals the actual sequence of the song on its own album. It's worth pausing here and noting that I'm coming from the idea of the perfect album from the era of CDs, back in the 90s, let's say, where the sequence of songs and the story told, the dynamics, the opening and closing, they flow perfectly where you would actually just let that CD repeat from the beginning, and you might be in the middle of driving, and and that's where the perfect album comes from. Like, there were certain ones I stuck in and I left them in for days. So Primus Anti-Pop was one of them. Like, especially the way that ends and then it goes back in the beginning. There's many other ones, couple by American Head Charge. We'll talk about those, or maybe you'll actually watch some of the other videos if I'm lucky. So that's how a complete and perfect album is created, because it has moments of beauty, moments of tension and release, happiness and resolution. Maybe not happiness in a lot of music, unfortunately. But how do you really do happy, heavy music, though, right? So, well, we'll find out. Anyway, so in a similar way to those perfect albums, once the playlist concludes and it commences that first song over again, you're completely at peace with it because it flows almost perfectly as well. Almost perfect. The idea of the almost perfect playlist is that the songs flow so well together that you have to stop it at an exact strategic time, because otherwise you'll remain in your vehicle listening to the rest of that track. Speaking of vehicles and tracks, it's songs that should sound good while you're driving 80 miles an hour through Wyoming. That is like the barometer of what equals a perfect, an almost perfect playlist. So it'll force you to take a longer drive and more scenic drive because you want to hear the transitions between songs and the sequences. A flow that draws you in and sticks in your head. Songs that actively complement or conflict with each other, actively damaging your hearing. And this was a preface that was needed. I felt about 8 minutes for some reason. Maybe that's what the original video was that we had to re-record. But the introduction is the almost perfect playlist, number 120. Your troubles will cease, and good fortune will follow you. I'm really embarrassed now. I'm actually losing the title because of regurgitating all this stuff. But I want to actually link an intention with that video. It's a fortune will smile upon you and your troubles will cease. And I think that in the context of that After the Burial song, it might not be completely sincere or genuine, because how does that really happen, that your troubles cease and fortune will smile upon you? But I still, in this season of life, encourage you to set that intention in your mind and think about that when you listen to this playlist. And we're not trying to get into anything too crazy, but I think deliberate intentions while listening to this stuff will hopefully help all of us in our lives. So thank you so much for tuning in, my friends and fellow citizens of the world. Check out my playlist number 120 on Spotify.